Alright, so today we're going to be tackling an age-old question. Can EMS Sasuke defeat Itachi, more specifically in his prime and perhaps Edo? So, as we know, Sasuke kind of grew up with a grudge and some resentment against Itachi due to the fact that he kind of slaughtered his whole family, which was kind of unfortunate. And Itachi tells him to come back when he has like the same eyes, and he comes back with the 3-tomo Sharingan. I'm pretty sure Itachi was referring to having a Mangekyo Sharingan, but it is what it is. Anyways, so they end up fighting, and this half-blind sick Itachi obviously kicks the bucket because Sasuke was amped by Orochimaru. Honestly, if Itachi was at full strength, full capacity, he wasn't like basically dying, there's a good chance that Itachi would have definitely 100% slapped Sasuke, maybe mid difficulty. But anyways, so Sasuke ended up killing him. First of all, Itachi didn't want to win the fight. Itachi didn't want to kill Sasuke. I just wanted to put that out there because the only person at this point who knew the truth about Itachi was Itachi, right? Sasuke didn't really know that Itachi wasn't really this bad guy that he portrayed for all these years, right? So Sasuke was bloodlusted, Itachi was not, and Itachi was half blind and like very sick, so I mean there's not much he could do anyways. So he ended up losing the fight with some pretty medium to high difficulty for Sasuke. But let's flip it a little bit. What if we take a slightly more amped Sasuke, right? Obviously he doesn't have the Orochimaru buffs here, but we take an EMS Sasuke, right? Not only the Mangekyo Sharingan, but even a step above that with the EMS versus Itachi if he wasn't like, sick and blind. Would this have changed the outcome of the fight if Sasuke ended up coming back with like Mangekyo Sharingan? In this case, it's technically impossible because this fight's technically impossible because EMS Sasuke, like this would never happen because EMS Sasuke literally has Itachi's eyes in his face. But I just wanted to give Sasuke every edge I could give him before getting to the Rinnegan, because obviously Rinnegan Sasuke would absolutely slap Itachi's cheeks. But just EMS Sasuke, and we're talking about an EMS Sasuke a little bit after Taka. This is after his fight with Kabuto, and this is after the fight with where he collaborates with Itachi that was reanimated versus Kabuto, and this is at the moment in time where he doesn't necessarily have a perfect Susanoo, right? Because if we see during the time where Itachi and Sasuke fought Kabuto, neither of them had perfected Susanoos, and we're gonna keep it at that. Those are the Susanoos we're gonna be talking about, right? The semi-perfected, they have flesh and whatever. They have like skeletal structures, but those are the Susanoos we're gonna be talking about. All right, so let's kind of break down what their individual abilities are for the most part, and let's kind of determine who would win in a fight and why, right? So first of all, as far as nature transformations, at this point in time, I think Sasuke mostly uses like, fire and lightning and yin, but he has access to all 5 later on once he gets the Rinnegan. Obviously he has Amaterasu because of his Mangekyo Sharingan. He has Susanoo, and then on top of that he already has the the base Sharingan abilities such as the Eye of Hypnotism. He has the base Sharingan Genjutsus and the Eye of Insight, so which kind of lets you like predict your enemy's movements and read into them a little bit closer. And Itachi at this point has fire, water, wind, yin and yang. Some people might be saying, yin and yang, what are you talking about? But if you think about it, Genjutsu is a yin release, and Shadow Clone falls under yin. So technically he's a little proficient in yin and yang, although not insanely proficient, just mostly in yin. He obviously also has the Eye of Hypnotism, the Eye of Insight, the same Sharingan eyes. He has access to a little more abilities than Sasuke does. He has Tsukuyomi, which Sasuke does not have access to. It's a much more amplified Genjutsu ability. I have not really made a video talking about it, but I mean, I'm sure many of you already know what it is. It's an insanely powerful Genjutsu ability where you can like be in there for years in the span of like a second or like a millisecond or something like that. It's very broken, but Sasuke has broken out of it before. And he can do it again, right? So he also has Amaterasu, right? They both have Amaterasu. Izanagi, which technically Sasuke also has access to, but he has never really been shown to use it, while Itachi has. But obviously we know that he has access to it because freaking Danzo could use it, not even an Uchiha. And Izanami as well. We also have the Yada Mirror and the Tosuke Blade. For those of you who don't know what these are, they're basically like a shield and sword that Itachi's Susanoo has the ability to use. And his Tosuke Blade can kind of seal people, and his Yada Mirror can, theoretically deflect any attack, right? He also has another ability called, if I can pronounce this correctly, it's like the Yasaka Magatama, and basically it's like a shuriken formed out of the Susanoo, and you can kind of throw it. Very similar to Sasuke's little arrow thing that he's got going on. So those are their primary abilities that they're showcased to use, right? That's their casual skill set. Obviously, they probably have access to a couple more abilities here and there, Like, if you really want to stretch it, you know that Sasuke has ability of using the, you know, the hidden lotus and all that stuff. But we're just talking about their main abilities that they use in typical battles, right? As far as speed, Itachi could pace with KCM Naruto. Obviously, KCM Naruto was not bloodlusted and Itachi was being controlled. But it's kind of interesting to note that this is kind of like what we would expect Itachi to be like in his prime a little bit. Because you got to keep in mind that in most cases, when someone is reanimated, it's implied that they're reanimated weaker than the original state. We see this with a lot of statements about Hashirama and Madara on how much weaker they are than they actually were before. So we know that reanimated versions are weaker than the original. But in Itachi's case, he was actually like half blind and sick. If this is a slightly weaker version of his prime, or even if this is the same as his prime, his reanimated version is insane, right? He's pacing with KCM Naruto. He's kind of blitzing B. And you gotta keep in mind that this is the same KCM Naruto that could blitz the Raikage, which was slightly faster than the Mangekyo Sharingan Sasuke, right? So I don't know. I feel like due to some of these, scaling, it could be implied that Itachi's a little bit stronger, but Itachi's never been known to be like a super speedster. So just like take that with a grain of salt. I would assume that Itachi's a little bit faster if I didn't miss anything. Also, when Itachi was reanimated, he was definitely shown to be a better strategist than Sasuke was, even at that point in time in the Kabuto fight. He was literally like holding Sasuke's hand throughout the entire fight. Without Itachi's help, I don't even think Sasuke would have made it out of there alive. I also forgot to mention that Sasuke also does have Kirin as well, which is one of the strongest abilities they used on Sasuke last time. Now, if you just look at their abilities at face value, and you keep in mind that Sasuke doesn't have a lot of the abilities that he had when he had Orochimaru in him, they're very similar to what Itachi has now, actually. And just due to the fact that Itachi's just way more experienced, he has some similar abilities, and his Susanoo, at this point in time, even though they're pretty much the same, in the sense that they're both imperfected Susanos that have flesh to them, I don't really know how Sasuke would counter the Yata Mirror and the Totsuka Blade, right? Because Sasuke's like quote-unquote spirit weapons are not nearly as powerful as Itachi's, right? And on top of that, they have the same eyes. He has Tsukuyomi, although I don't think that's a valid argument, because I think Sasuke would be able to obviously break out of that. But at the end of the day, it just boils down to that. Like, Itachi's just overall more intelligent. He might be able to outpace Sasuke, right? And he has the Yata Mirror and the Totsuka Blade, which I don't know how Sasuke would even counter that, right? And again, this is kind of a hypothetical because we've never seen a Prime Itachi, but I'm assuming that the Prime Itachi is a little bit better. Like a hypothetical Prime non-blind Itachi would be a little bit better than when he was reanimated. The only benefits that he has when he's reanimated is that he can just spam Mangekyo Sharingan abilities just like EMS Sasuke can. In a very long and drawn out fight, it is possible that a Prime Itachi could lose if he starts trying to spam his Mangekyo abilities and just gets wrecked, and they're just not pulling through, because at the end of the day, his eye's gonna slowly lose sight, whereas Sasuke's won't, because he has the EMS. But again, I'm gonna have to give these ones to Itachi. I think either way, it's very difficult for EMS Sasuke to win this fight. I'd say Itachi would probably win both of these fights with high level of difficulty. Again, once you start taking Sasuke later on, once he has the perfected Susanoo, once he has the Rinnegan, obviously we know that Sasuke is much stronger than Itachi for a variety of reasons, for scaling, the fights he's been in. He's just much more powerful. He has access to more abilities. But this is, I feel like, the most fair fight that we could give Itachi, for the sole reason that, their strongest abilities, physical abilities, boil down to the Susanoo, and if you put their Susanoo down to the same level, it's clear that Itachi's won this fight. Anyways, if you guys like more videos like this, don't forget to go check out Mixis' channel. He made the thumbnail. Be sure to go thank him down in the comments below, and I'll catch you in the next one.